This is an RNZ podcast.
An omni-shambles. That's how Auckland's mayors describe the city's train cancellations, with new warnings there are more to come each and every day over the next several weeks.
Some trains were working, many weren't.
Was yesterday last straw?
Yeah, it really was.
That was TVNZ's One News on Tuesday, reporting on cancellation chaos caused by train tracks getting too hot to travel on in Auckland, apparently. And then TVNZ reporter Kim Baker-Wilson told viewers there would be more disruption if the weather stays hot, and in the longer term, bigger problems.
Wayne Brown has now formally told Auckland Transport that it needs to stop all of its projects being funded by the regional fuel tax. That is the tax that the government is moving to scrap. Wayne Brown has been a long-time opponent of that. Now that it is happening, Wayne Brown says other ways need to be found to make those projects happen, and that Auckland Transport shouldn't assume it's going to get extra money from higher council rates or higher council debt.
And one of those projects paused by the Mayor Wayne Brown was a busway through the electorate of Simeon Brown, the Transport Minister and Minister for Auckland. And the next day, the lead story in ZB's news bulletin was this.
A perfect storm is brewing in Auckland over transport and investment in it, or rather lack of it. Mayor Wayne Brown wants no more money spent on a range of transport projects in the face of the cancelled regional fuel tax.
Soon after that, Wayne Brown was on RNZ's Morning Report, and co-host Corin Dan asked the Mayor this.
Is this a game of chicken you're playing with the government here, trying to build public support and see who blinks first?
But Wayne Brown didn't chicken out. He went on to say that Auckland needs Wellington out of its business, though later at one point suggested in exasperation Wellington could take over the whole business if they really want to, though he didn't really mean that. But the same morning on News Talk ZB, Mike Hosking asked Wayne Brown this.
But what we're finding out here, Wayne, is the mayor's just a figurehead in that sense. I mean, you can write all the letters you want, bang all the heads together you want, have all the meetings you want. Auckland's still stuffed, and everyone can see it.
Well, I think that's I'm getting a bit more than being a figurehead. I'm quite a pain in the arse to some people now, which is very good.
But the supposed figurehead, Wayne Brown, told Mike Hosking he did want to bang heads together.
I've got them in tomorrow. The three of them are going to be in the room, and they're going to get a bloody good bollocking from me.
But would ass-kicking, head-banging and bollocking actually unblock the traffic and the trains? Former Business NZ Chief Phil O'Reilly told News Talk ZB, maybe.
Whenever I see people pointing fingers and shouting at each other, usually that's a good symptom of the fact that there's plenty of blame to go round. So let's make sure we get it all out on the table all at once, shall we?
Anyhow, while the answer to this question Mike Hosking put to Wayne Brown seemed pretty obvious,
are you prepared to admit in front of hundreds of thousands of people that this is not Auckland's best week?
It's a bit difficult, really.
Mike Hosking went on to make a meal of Wayne Brown's hesitation there later in his show.
No, I reckon we got 3 trucks and an ambulance there. Have we? Are you prepared to admit in front of hundreds of thousands of people that this is not Auckland's best week?
It's a bit difficult, really.
Sounds like that might be the only transport moving swiftly in Auckland right now. But having declared Auckland stuffed, Hosking wound up his chat with the Mayor, looking on the bright side.
To defend Auckland just momentarily, at least we don't have mice in our salads. Or do we? We'll probably find that out by the end of the day as well. 7:14.
But Mike Hosking clearly wasn't watching TVNZ One News the night before. Just before Kim Baker-Wilson's Transport Trauma Update, this development led the TVNZ bulletin.
Well, in the last 20 minutes, we've just heard from Foodstuffs North Island, who own Pack and Save, who tell us that a lone mouse was seen at their Lincoln Road Pack and Save in West Auckland. It was spotted by customers shopping in the store, scurrying among the aisles. Pest control was quickly called, and apparently the mouse was caught and disposed of, so that crisis is averted.
I took a look at the reporting of the retail ratastrophe in this week's Midweek Mediawatch last Wednesday on Nights with Emil Donovan, where we also talked about 2 awkward interviews featuring Vladimir Putin and David Seymour, and we looked at the coverage of the state of emergency with the Port Hills fire in Christchurch. If you missed it, Midweek Mediawatch is on the Mediawatch page of the RNZ website. You'll find it on our section of the RNZ app, or it's available for free wherever you get your podcasts. Now, as we've just heard, there's been lots of angst about Auckland Transport this week and how to pay the big bills now that the Auckland fuel tax is no more. Hayden Donnell reports now on how one big bill hit the headlines and fired up debate this week, but the numbers were way off.
And this is all about the cost of living for Aucklanders. If someone's driving a Hilux, they'll save around $9 every time they fill up their car. Someone who's driving a Corolla, around $5, and that's money that won't be funding $500,000 speed bumps in Auckland.
That's Transport Minister Simeon Brown defending his government's decision to drop the Auckland regional fuel tax in Parliament on Tuesday afternoon. $500,000 speed bumps, or as they're known in the transport world, raised pedestrian crossings, may have been on his mind after reading that morning's issue of the New Zealand Herald. Its page 3 lead by Supercity reporter Bernard Orsman ran under the headline,
AT pushes on with project building $500,000 crossings.
The story focused on Auckland Transport's plan to build 29 new pedestrian crossings as part of some street upgrades it's carrying out in the suburbs of Point Chevalier and Westmere. It was the latest in a series of reports from Orsman raising hackles about costly crossings, including one in Three Kings, which had to be built, ripped up and rebuilt at a cost of $600,000, and another on Williamson Ave in Ponsonby, where unexpected stormwater issues pushed the price tag to $490,000. Another report noted that AT is installing 27 signalised crossings over 2 years at a cost of $12.7 million, or about 0.6% of its annual capital budget of $1.1 billion. There was just one small problem with the headline on Orsman's latest report, though. None of the 29 pedestrian crossings in question cost anything like $500,000. In fact, the real estimated cost of the crossings was between $19,000 and $31,000 each. Okay, maths isn't always a journalist's strong suit. Maybe somebody slipped up on the calculator and accidentally inflated the price tag for the crossings by roughly 1,500%. Maybe the headline was a guesstimate or an extrapolation from earlier stories. Except AT has confirmed to Mediawatch and others that the real cost of the pedestrian crossings in question had been provided to the Herald long before its publication date. Not only did those figures not make it into the paper's headline, they apparently didn't warrant inclusion in the story at all. Instead, it repeatedly referenced the high cost of some past crossings without once quoting the comparatively piddly price of the 29 planned for Westmere and Point Chevalier. That didn't stop the story being shared by RNZ and generating a flood of mostly ill-informed angry comments on Facebook. No wonder then that $500,000 crossings weren't just vexing Simeon Brown by the following morning. News Talk ZB host Mike Hosking introed his aforementioned interview with Mayor Wayne Brown like this.
Well, how about Auckland's week, eh? $500,000 pedestrian crossings, trains that don't work in any sort of heat, scrapping between Kiwi Rail and AT, water pipes bursting yesterday, and now the Mayor has told AT.
Hosking went on.
Well, see, part of the problem with your fuel funding, for example, if we weren't a city that had $500,000 pedestrian crossings and $300,000 speed humps, do you reckon people would have more sympathy?
Well, some of those things are pretty stupid, and I've been quite clear in saying that I'm not mad about them.
If Hosking had opened the Herald that morning, he might have seen something which would have made him feel a bit better about Auckland's week. A correction on page 5 read,
a headline about pedestrian crossings being built between Point Chevalier and Westmere said they cost $500,000 each. This was incorrect. The story also omitted AT's estimate for the crossings, which it predicts will cost between $19,000 and $31,000 each.
It's not really a surprise that Hosking didn't spot that, though. It ran in a small corner at the bottom of a column of news briefs on page 5 of the paper. Easy to miss. As the slightly augmented saying goes, scream the error, whisper the correction.